Two coworkers from the finance department often work late nights together. Between overtime and growing feelings, they slowly start getting closer. Without realizing it, their overtime turns into romance. For Zhao, it was love at first sight. But for Yi Lion, the feelings grew slowly over time. Will this love truly blossom between spreadsheets and deadlines? To know that, you'll have to follow their story. Before the story begins, let's meet the characters. Meet Lion Zhao, the main lead. He is cute and bold. Throughout the story, we'll call him Zhao. And this is Yi Lion, Zhao's senior, and another main character. We'll call him Lion in the story. Oh, and here's the answer to the question everyone always asks. Zhao is the top, and Yi Lion is the bottom. The story begins with a man waking up. This is Yi Lion, 34 years old. He is responsible, hardworking, and earns a good salary. After showering and dressing in a suit, he takes the crowded metro to the office. Every morning, he leaves home very early to catch the first train. There's a secret reason behind this routine, which will soon be revealed. At the office, Lion jogs in the gym for half an hour to maintain his weight. After that, he takes a shower. He comes so early because he doesn't want any colleague to see the tattoos on his body. But today, fate had other plans. As soon as he stepped out of the shower, he ran into his junior, Zhao. Zhao looked like he had just finished working out. Zhao's eyes immediately noticed Lion's tattoos. Since Lion only had a towel on his shoulder and the tattoos were clearly visible, Lion never thought a colleague would discover them. He was shocked. Trying to hide his emotions, Lion quickly covered his tattoos, smiled awkwardly, and said, "Zhao Liang, you came quite early." Inside, he was nervous, wondering, did he see them? Zhao smiled brightly and replied, "Good morning, senior. You're early too. And you look really cool." Hearing this, Lion realized Zhao must have seen the tattoos. But instead of feeling happy, Lion grew sad. He remembered the time in his youth when his parents first saw his tattoos and scolded him harshly. Lost in that memory, Lion looked at Zhao, who was smiling at him. He gave a faint smile back, whispered thanks, and said, "Zhao Liang, you take your time showering, I'll head to the office." He quickly left. Behind him, Zhao smiled and said softly, "Take care, senior." He watched Lion leave with great attention. Later, in the supervisor's office, Lion sat at his desk in front of the computer, but his mind wasn't on work. Covering his face with his hand, he thought, "The tattoo I've hidden for so long. Today a kid saw it. If rumors spread, it will affect me badly. I feel even more like ending everything." His eyes drifted outside his cabin toward the workers' desks, specifically Zhao's desk. He noticed a sandwich and apple juice placed there, items he himself had left. Looking away, Lion muttered to himself, "What am I doing, tempting a kid with food? But I guess he won't realize it's from me." Soon, more workers arrived. Zhao came with a colleague and noticed the snacks on his desk. His colleague laughed. "Ah, youth is fun. People are leaving breakfast for you." Zhao picked up the sandwich, smiled slightly, and glanced toward Lion's cabin. He knew Lion had placed it there. Opening the sandwich, Zhao said to his colleague, "I'm not sure. Maybe it was meant for someone else." His colleague teased, "You don't know, but you're still eating it." Zhao smiled and replied, "Otherwise, it would go to waste." As he ate, he gave Lion a side glance. From his cabin, Lion was also watching Zhao. Later, Lion stood in the office smoking room, thinking, will he think I'm trying to please him? Will he tell others about my tattoos? Forget it. Why should I care? Anyway, the company has no rule against tattoos. Just then, someone knocked. It was Zhao, smiling brightly. "Good morning, senior," he said. Lion greeted him back, still wondering why Zhao was there. Zhao walked in and stood near the shelf. The smoke bothered him, so he quickly pulled out his handkerchief. Looking at Lion, Zhao asked with a sweet smile, "Does senior like hiding alone in places like this?" Lion rubbed his neck and replied, "I guess there are too many girls in our department. I don't want to disturb anyone." Zhao smiled and said, "Me too." From his expression, Lion realized Zhao had only recently learned to smoke. Thinking this, Lion said, "I didn't know kids like you also come here." Zhao showed his ID card, winked, and said, Just call me Zhao Li, not kid. Senior, you're only a few years older than me. Lion put out his cigarette and said, all right then. He tapped Zhao's shoulder and added, don't stay here too long, leaving. Lion tapped Zhao's shoulder and said, all right then. Don't stay here too long, leaving. As Lion was walking away, Zhao called out, oh, Senior, I need to tell you something. Lion turned back and replied, yes, go ahead. Smiling, Zhao stepped closer and said, your tattoo, with this light-colored shirt, it's visible. At least I can see it clearly. As he spoke, Zhao came so close that Lion began to blush. But Lion wasn't sure if Zhao was teasing him, so he went to the washroom, stood in front of the mirror, and checked for himself. To his shock, the tattoos really were visible. He left the washroom with a sad expression and sat down at his desk in his cabin. While sitting there, Lion noticed some documents on the side. One of them was Zhao's file, containing his information. He saw that Zhao was 7 years younger than him. Zhao's qualifications were impressive. He had even worked for a big company in New York for a few years before returning to China. Closing the file, Lion thought to himself, with such outstanding qualifications, his future is so bright. As for me, I'm 7 years older, but I wasted those 7 years. Lost in these thoughts, time passed until night. At 9 p.m., there was a knock on his cabin door. He said, come in, and saw Zhao standing there with a bag. Zhao entered and said, Senior, it's already 9 o'clock, but you haven't had dinner yet, right? To thank you for this morning, I brought dinner for you. Please choose one. He placed food packets on Lion's desk. Hearing this, Lion remembered the sandwich and apple juice from earlier, and realized Zhao had figured out that breakfast was from him. Holding his belt nervously, Lion said, there's no need for dinner. It's late. Shouldn't you go home? In his mind, he thought, this mischievous kid is pressuring me like a boss. But Zhao replied, I don't want to go home. Come on, choose quickly. Looking at the packets, Lion realized Zhao preferred Western food. He picked one and said, thank you. Let's eat together. Zhao placed a juice bottle on the table and said, no, it's fine. I still have work to do. Then he started to leave. Watching him go, Lion sighed deeply, thinking, I really don't understand what he's trying to do. Later, when Lion opened the food packet, he realized the food had gone cold. Looking toward Zhao's desk, he saw Zhao eating the same cold food. Concerned, Lion went to him and asked, did you heat this up? Zhao shook his head. Lion explained, there's a microwave in the office pantry. Next time, heat your food. There. Come, I'll show you. He picked up both packets, and Zhao followed, saying, I don't know how to use a microwave. Surprised, Lion looked at him. Zhao smiled awkwardly and added, I thought if I put these boxes inside, they might explode. Lion reassured him, no, these boxes are safe for microwaves. Soon, they reached the pantry. Lion showed Zhao how to use the microwave, then asked him to sit so they could eat together. As they sat, Zhao suddenly asked, Senior, do you mind that I saw your tattoo? The question shocked Lion. Zhao quickly added, don't worry, Senior. I'm not the kind of person who exposes others' secrets. Relieved, Lion said, thank you for keeping it a secret, but when others find out, they'll be shocked. It's abnormal. Zhao immediately replied, no, not at all. I think it's beautiful. Lion smiled faintly and said, actually, I regret it. I'm waiting for my yearly vacation to have it removed. Zhao stood up, came closer, and said softly, removing tattoos must be very painful, and such a large tattoo might not be fully removable. If not done properly, complications could happen. Hearing this, Lion grew nervous and said, you're right. It's risky. But the tattoo isn't visible unless someone comes very close. Zhao smiled and replied, then don't let anyone else come close, except me. Blushing, Lion looked at him nervously. Zhao gave a sweet smile and said, sorry, I was just joking. Please relax. I still have work, so I'll eat at my desk. Lion nodded. All right, keep working hard, and go home on time. As Zhao was leaving, he turned back and asked, oh, Senior, how do you handle the yearly health check at the office? During a full body checkup, It's impossible to hide your tattoos. Lion replied. I go alone to a hospital near my home, then submit the report afterward. Zhao said. Senior, I want to go with you. I also have a secret that could be revealed during the checkup. Now that you know my secret, you won't be afraid of me anymore, right? So Zhao had a secret too. Days passed. Since Zhao mentioned his secret, their relationship began to change. Zhao often invited Lion to lunch. Sometimes he included younger colleagues, but most of the time it was just the two of them. One day, Zhao invited Lion to a dumpling shop. Lion agreed, and soon they were sitting inside, tasting dumplings together. As they ate, Lion said, when I was young, I often went with my mom to Kangshang Market to buy vegetables. At the entrance, there was a stall selling dumplings. If I had leftover money, I would buy some. These taste almost the same as I remember. Zhao looked at him with bright eyes, smiled sweetly, and said, I'm glad Senior likes them too. Lion added, it's been more than 10 years since I went home. Narrator's note, Yi Lion's family background is quite sad, and he has faced many hardships. You'll learn more about this as the story continues. Surprise continues. While eating dumplings, Yi Lion told Zhao, it's been more than 10 years since I last went home. As he spoke, sweat began to run down his face. His shirt clung to his body, and his tattoos became visible. Noticing this, Zhao quickly stood up and placed his blazer on Lion's shoulders. The sudden action left Lion confused. Zhao pointed and explained, Senior, your tattoos are showing. Looking at the blazer, Lion thought to himself, is this because I was sweating? This morning I spilled coffee on my blazer, so I sent it to the dry cleaner downstairs. I plan to pick it up after work. Smiling softly, he said to Zhao, even if my tattoos are visible, it doesn't matter. No one here knows us. But if you catch a cold, that wouldn't be good. He began to remove the blazer, but before he could, Zhao held his hand and stopped him. No, I won't catch a cold, Zhao said. I'm very healthy. Besides, I'm wearing thermals underneath. He showed Lion his thermals, making Lion blush and lower his gaze. This kid really knows how to take care of himself, Lion thought. But even with so many layers, why doesn't he look bulky? Grateful, Lion thanked Zhao for the blazer and wore it properly. Zhao smiled happily and said, this blazer suits you perfectly, Senior. Lion smiled back. From that day, the two, who once seemed unable to even stand together, became lunch buddies. For Lion, this had both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage was that his quality of life and happiness increased. The disadvantage was that Zhao had no sense of saving. He only thought about good food, no matter how expensive it was. One day, Zhao invited Lion to lunch again. They went to a seafood restaurant, and the food was delicious. But when Lion saw the expensive bill, he felt like crying. As he worried about money, Zhao picked up the bill and paid it. Senior, you treat yourself too strictly, Zhao said. You can't force yourself to be so stingy. Is all your hard work only for your bank balance? Lion stayed silent. He was saving money to pay off his home loan. Watching Zhao, he thought, he's influencing me. He's pushing me toward a more carefree life. He's young and lives fully like me. I'm always pressured by my loan, but maybe sometimes I should spend freely and enjoy myself. After leaving the restaurant, Zhao said, the company wants us to submit our health check reports after New Year. Senior, when will you go for your checkup? Hearing this, Lion remembered Zhao's secret. What kind of secret does he want to reveal to me during the checkup? He imagined different possibilities, even blushed at the thought, then said, let's go on New Year's Day. We'll both have the day off. They agreed to meet at the clinic at a.m. On the day of the checkup, Lion arrived at the hospital by 8 a.m., yawning. Soon, Zhao arrived too, smiling sweetly and greeting him. Together, they walked inside. Lion thought, this hospital is right across from my neighborhood. I only need to wake up at 7:30 to get here. But where does Zhao live? How did he arrive so early? Climbing the stairs, Lion explained. We'll do the blood test first. In the morning, it's less crowded, so we won't have to wait in line. But Zhao stayed completely silent. Seeing him quiet, Lion wondered, am I talking too much? Am I annoying him? He stopped speaking. Then Zhao asked softly, "Senior, are you still afraid of me?" Confused, Lion looked at him. Zhao continued, "You haven't forgotten my secret, right?" Lion nodded. Zhao stepped closer and said, "But you never asked me about it. For that, I'm thankful. Senior, you're truly a good person. You treat everyone equally. Instead of satisfying your curiosity, you always think about others. I'm lucky to have met you." By now, Zhao was very close. Lion blushed, his cheeks and ears turning red. Zhao walked ahead up the stairs. Lion, still flustered, hurried after him and asked, "Then, can I ask now?" Zhao turned and smiled. "Yes, you can. I'm afraid of needles. I hate having my blood drawn. Senior, I really dislike needles." As they reached the blood sampling room, Lion sighed, wondering, "Is this a joke?" Inside, Zhao sat in front of the nurse. She began applying antiseptic to his arm, but Zhao's hands trembled violently. "Are you okay?" Lion asked. "I don't know," Zhao replied nervously. His whole body was shaking. Lion thought, "This is abnormal. Even when our director scolds the department harshly, Zhao never looks this scared. He must truly fear needles." Worried, Lion crouched beside him, held his hand, and said, "Try to distract yourself. Don't focus on the needle. Think about something else, like me." "Can I really do that?" Zhao asked. "Yes," Lion replied, "as long as you don't laugh at me." The two looked into each other's eyes, appearing adorably close. The nurse prepared to draw blood, while Lion watched carefully. Just then, Zhao began to speak. "Oh, Senior, I wanted to." But suddenly a loud crash interrupted him. The tray of medicines and instruments fell to the floor. It happened because Zhao, sensing the needle, reflexively pulled his hand back. Embarrassed, Zhao lowered his gaze and said sadly to the nurse, "I'm sorry. This always happens because of my reflexes." Things faded, Lion explained. Spending time together doesn't guarantee stronger feelings. Maybe we rushed. She grew insecure, and I grew tired. I realized if she wasn't meant for me, we should separate. If we had married, things would have been worse. Zhao smiled. Yes, that was the right choice. Lion added. Now, it doesn't matter. Living alone is fine. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. My family doesn't expect much from me anyway. But having a home is good. At the end of the day, people need motivation to keep living. He placed his drink on the table, but spilled some onto Zhao's hand. Sorry, Lion said quickly. It's fine, Zhao replied, taking tissues and gently wiping Lion's hands. Thank you, but I can do it myself, Lion said. Almost done, Senior, Zhao smiled, carefully cleaning his hands. Lion suddenly felt warm. His cheeks and neck turned red. Pulling at his shirt, he thought, why do I feel hot? Is it the drink? No, it's Zhao. As he was thinking, his eyes fell on the side table. There was an iguana. At first, he thought it was a statue, but its eyes moved. Startled, Lion looked closer. That's Mark's, Zhao explained. He's a 4-year-old blue iguana. I have other pets too, but I haven't brought them here yet. I didn't know you had this hobby, Lion said. Yes, Zhao replied. When I lived abroad, they kept me company. Hearing this, Lion thought, so his ex must have been foreign too. He's sentimental. You're still young, Zhao, Lion said. You don't need to think about marriage yet. Enjoy life fully. Not everyone you meet will be like your ex. Of course, your career is important. Don't let romance interfere with work. Complete every task I give you on time. Zhao laughed. But I don't want to open myself to everyone. There's someone I like. I'm not interested in anyone else. Oh really? Lion asked. How's it going with that person? I'm trying to win them over, Zhao said. I hope it works out, Lion replied. I think you can do it. Zhao smiled. Yes, I think so too, Senior. I never talked about this at the company, but Zhao told Yi Lion, I'm a little different from others. The person I like is not a woman, but I've decided not to confess my feelings yet, because I'm sure I'll be rejected. Hearing this confession, Lion didn't know how to react. At first, he was surprised. Then he lowered his gaze, staring at his glass, unsure what to say in such a situation. Seeing him silent, Zhao asked, Senior, why aren't you saying anything? Will my orientation create a problem in our relationship? Will it affect us? Lion quickly replied, No, of course not. I was just thinking how I can encourage you. Zhao smiled. Senior, you're like my elder brother, but unlike you, my real brother was never gentle with me. He was fierce. Oh. So you have a brother too? Lion asked. Yes, Zhao nodded. And you? Lion sighed. I had a brother, 9 years older, but he's no longer with us. 12 years ago, in New York, he ended his life. We didn't meet often, so I only learned about it from the news. Zhao listened quietly. Then Lion poured him another drink and handed him the glass. Holding it, Zhao said, at that time, things at home were very difficult, but he chose to escape. I look down on people who end their lives. Their bodies look horrible, and they're responsible for it themselves. Senior, we should treasure life, not throw it away. He clinked his glass with Lion's. Hearing this, Lion gave an awkward smile, thinking, did I say something strange to this kid? Something I shouldn't have said? He worried because he himself often thought about ending his own life. Concerned, Lion asked, Zhao, are you upset? Upset? A little mayor, Zhao admitted. Then why are you still smiling? Lion asked. Zhao's smile faded. Lion gently reached out, cupped Zhao's cheek, and said softly, if you feel like crying, you can cry. Or if you don't want to share your feelings, that's fine too. Feeling his touch, Zhao blushed. He leaned into Lion's hand and teased, Senior, are you drunk? Realizing what he was doing, Lion quickly pulled his hand back. What am I doing? He thought. Am I a terrible senior? Touching him so casually? But Zhao smiled and said, I don't feel like crying, but if Senior wants to see it, I can pretend to cry a little. Lion thought. His family went through something traumatic, yet he talks about it so easily. He's just pretending to be strong in front of me. Taking a deep breath, Lion said. We're already close, and you're much younger than me. You don't need to pretend to be strong in front of me. I'm not pretending, Zhao replied. I'm not acting strong. And besides, many people in the company say we become very close. So close that we even eat together. That's true, Lion said. Does that bother you? I thought it would bother you, Zhao admitted. I thought you cared about such things. I don't care at all, Lion said firmly. The only thing I worry about is my tattoos. What if the boss dislikes them and fires me? I've heard the chairman is very strict about employees' image. But the company won't fire me for having friends. There's no rule against that. Hearing this, Zhao smiled sweetly, trying to hold back his laughter. Confused, Lion asked, "Did I say something strange?" Wiping tears of laughter from his eyes, Zhao replied, "No, senior, you're absolutely right." Watching him, Lion thought, why are kids these days so strange? Later, after finishing dinner, Zhao carried the plates to the kitchen, while Lion began unpacking boxes. Opening one, he found a book. Just then, his phone buzzed with a message. It was late at night. After reading it, Lion walked to the kitchen, stood beside Zhao, and watched him wash dishes. How can washing 2 bowls take so long? He wondered. Holding his head, he said, "Leave it for now. It's time to work. There's a meeting at 10:30. Hearing this, Zhao felt relieved. Of course, the narrator notes, he doesn't know how to wash dishes properly. That's why he was so glad to hear about the meeting. Smiling, Zhao said, "I'll call a cab." "Calling a car here is difficult," Lion replied. "What about your Bugatti? Where is it?" Surprised, Zhao hesitated. Before he could answer, Lion said seriously, "I saw you at Xing World. It looked like you were following a girl, and I've thought about it carefully. You didn't buy your apartment with a loan, did you? Do you have money at home?" Zhao lowered his gaze, not wanting to discuss it. Instead, he changed the topic. "I'm too sleepy to drive, and I've had half a glass of drink." Lion understood he was avoiding the question. Crossing his arms, he said, "Fine. Then call a car." Soon, a car arrived. Zhao stood outside the building, while Lion went back to fetch some files he had forgotten. When he returned, Zhao opened the car door for him. "Thank you," Lion said, getting in. Zhao followed, buckled his seatbelt, and muttered, "That old man is so annoying. Who schedules work at this hour?" "Don't talk about it at the company," Lion advised. Yawning, Zhao closed his eyes to nap. The car sped down the road. Lion's expression changed, not because of the speed, but because Zhao's head had fallen onto his shoulder. Zhao slept peacefully, his long hair brushing against Lion's neck and cheek, making him blush. Taking a deep breath, Lion thought, "There's nothing to worry about. We understand each other well now. His orientation doesn't matter to me. He sees me like an elder brother." He removed his scarf and covered Zhao, so he wouldn't feel cold. But Zhao wasn't really asleep. He smiled softly, holding the scarf tightly. "Senior is wrong," the narrator notes. "Zhao doesn't see him as a brother, and soon, Lion will realize that." Later, they reached the company. In the conference room, the manager announced, "The Moscow project is finalized. We need 6 staff members for it." Tired and exhausted, Lion listened quietly. Zhao, on the other hand, looked annoyed. Then the manager called Lion's name. Both Lion and Zhao looked up attentively. "This project is very important," the manager said. "So you will be the leader." Lion smiled and agreed. 3 staff members had already been selected. 3 more were yet to be chosen. A worker handed Lion a note with the names. Reading it, he was surprised. "What a coincidence," he said. Zhao's face lit up with joy, because his name was on the list too. When Zhao learned that he and Yi Lion were in the same team, his face literally lit up with joy. He was so happy that words couldn't describe it. Finally, the day arrived when the team had to leave for Moscow. It was time to board the flight. One by one, all the team members entered the plane. A staff member showed Lion his seat. "Senior, here's your seat. We're all sitting in economy class over there. This way, we'll reach quickly." "Thank you," Lion replied politely. As the others walked toward economy class, Zhao passed by Lion, winked at him, and went ahead. Honestly, If anyone knows how to flirt, it's Zhao. The narrator notes, look at how boldly he winked at Lion. In economy class, Zhao helped arrange everyone's luggage. Since he was the tallest, he placed the bags in the overhead compartments. Thank God we have Zhao Liang, Supervisor Chen said. The other teammates also thanked him. Zhao smiled and replied, it's no problem. Soon, Lion came over and asked, the temperature in Moscow is 0 to -10 degrees. Does everyone have enough warm clothes? One of the translators answered, yes, I brought a suitcase full of thick down jackets, but I forgot to check. Could you help me take it down? Zhao was about to help, but Lion stepped in and took the suitcase down himself. Zhao then said, I'll buy clothes at the airport. I didn't want to carry heavy jackets with me. Hearing this, Lion thought, but what about when you return? You don't even have an extra suitcase to pack them in. He didn't say it aloud, instead telling everyone, all right, get some rest. The flight landed in Moscow on time. After arriving, the team booked cabs to their destination. Moscow looked breathtaking. Snow was falling, making the whole atmosphere even more beautiful. Everyone admired the snow, taking photos and enjoying the scenery. Inside the cab, Lion sat in front, while Zhao's seat was slightly behind. Lion was busy on his phone, but noticed Zhao staring at him. Zhao wore a brand new jacket, just bought at the airport. Confused, Lion thought, why is he looking at me like that? He asked, don't you feel jet lag? Zhao replied, no, senior. I followed your advice and slept on the plane. Good. Lion said, I have to start work tomorrow. He turned to look out the window, wondering if Zhao was simply admiring the snow. The teammates were busy taking pictures of the snowfall. Lion also clicked a photo and sent it to Zhao, so his junior could enjoy it too. Lion opened it, but couldn't understand. What language is this? He wondered. It wasn't mentioned in his arsum. He messaged Zhao. What does this mean? Zhao replied. It's a poem by Pushkin, a Russian romantic poet. When I saw you looking at the snow, those lines came to mind. I'll Google it, Lion said. Surprise. Zhao quickly messaged back. I didn't expect that. I wanted to translate it myself for you, so I could read it with my emotions. Please wait until our project ends. His innocent expression made Lion pause. What a magical secret code, he thought, and I have to wait so long to know it. But maybe it's better to respect this sensitive young man. After all, even at 27, he still reads poetry. He put his phone down and looked out the window at the snow. Days passed. Lion explained. Since starting work in Moscow, everything has gone smoothly. But there are two problems. First, I'm not used to the food here. Second, Zhao isn't sleeping well. It shows clearly on his face. The narrator adds, look at his eyes, those dark circles are almost funny. After a team dinner, both Lion and Zhao went to the washroom. Zhao was washing his hands when Lion came up behind him and asked, you're not sleeping properly, are you? Is it hard to adjust? Hearing his voice, Zhao looked in the mirror, saw his senior behind him, then lowered his gaze and replied softly, I'm fine, but sometimes, if senior doesn't call me, I can't even wake up. Lion couldn't believe him. The dark circles told another story. After drying his hands, Zhao asked, Senior, is my condition affecting work? No, not at all, Lion replied. He's doing every task well, he thought. Sometimes he even helps with translations. But lately, he's been quieter, and his face looks troubled. Zhao tapped Lion's back and said, all right, but if you ever have something on your mind, don't keep it to yourself. You can share it with me. Hearing this, Lion was stunned. He didn't know what to say. Later that night, at 2:30 am, someone knocked on Zhao's door. Who is it? He asked. It's me, Lion's voice replied. Hearing him, Zhao quickly got out of bed and opened the door. You opened it so fast, Lion said. I only knocked twice, gently. Were you waiting? Zhao didn't want to answer. He changed the subject. Senior, aren't you sleepy? This made Lion angry. Don't change the subject. Tell me, how many hours are you sleeping these days? Is there a problem with your room? Zhao grew serious. This is my problem, Senior. I want to be alone, so you should leave. He began to close the door, but before it shut, Lion placed his hand against it. His hand got hurt. This is a small extra part of the story. It takes place after Zhao bought an apartment in the building opposite Yi Lion's. After moving in, Zhao began visiting Lion's home regularly. He would peek through the door with a sweet smile and say, "Senior, are you awake? I brought breakfast for you." Soon, they often shared breakfast together. They even took the subway together. The crowded subway, full of people. Zhao enjoyed it because he was standing beside his senior, but Lion couldn't understand why someone as wealthy as Zhao would endure such discomfort like ordinary people. He asked, "Why travel in such a crowded metro when you could drive your luxury car?" Zhao smiled and replied, "I sent it for servicing, but that was a lie." The truth was simple. He just wanted to spend time with his senior. They ate breakfast together, took the metro together, and spent most of their time working overtime side by side. At night, they sat in their apartments with laptops open. On their screens were half-heart stickers. When placed together, they formed a complete heart, but overtime left its mark. Dark circles appeared under Lion's eyes. One night, while working late, Lion asked, "You were fine in your old home. Why move next door to me? So far from the company? It's already a.m. and we have to wake at 5 to catch the metro. Why choose such a distant place?" Later, exhausted, Lion fell asleep at the table, his head resting on a pillow. Zhao quietly covered him with a blanket, so his senior wouldn't feel cold. Then he leaned against the table beside him, watching him with a tender smile. "This is all because of you, senior," Zhao whispered softly. Back to the main story. It was 2:30 a.m. when Lion knocked on Zhao's door, checking if he was sleeping. Well, Zhao admitted he needed medicine to sleep, which he had been taking since he was 21 or 22. Inside Zhao's room, both lay on the bed. Lion looked at him and thought, "It's so quiet. Is he asleep? I tried showing him I could hypnotize him, but honestly, I don't believe I have that ability. I just hope it works so he can rest." But Zhao slowly opened his eyes, turned toward him, and asked, "Senior, are you asleep? Trying to rest?" Lion replied in an annoyed tone, "I can't talk right now." Hesitant, Zhao asked, "Senior, could you turn your back toward me?" Lion sighed. "Can't I just close my eyes and sleep without looking at you?" With puppy-like eyes, Zhao rubbed his neck and said, "That won't work, senior." Finally, Lion gave in. "All right," he said, turning his back to him, "but you must follow my words. Close your eyes and try to sleep." "Okay," Zhao agreed, obeying his senior. As Zhao tried to sleep, Lion glanced at him from the corner of his eye. Is my presence making him more restless? Who would want to share a bed with their senior? Most people would avoid it. Just then, Zhao gathered courage and asked, "Senior, can I hug you?" Surprised, Lion asked, "Will that help you sleep?" Smiling sweetly, Zhao replied, "It will make me feel warm." Taking a deep breath, Lion said, "All right, come here." Without hesitation, Zhao moved closer, wrapped his arms around Lion's waist, and hugged him tightly. His face lit up with a joyful smile. He was truly happy, but Lion's body stiffened. Then Zhao noticed the tattoos visible under his t-shirt. "I really like your tattoos, senior," Zhao said softly. "Every single one of them." Surprised, Lion closed his eyes and said, "Stop looking and go to sleep." But Zhao smiled. "I'm not sleepy at all. This is the band I love." He hugged Lion even closer. Lion froze, blushing lightly. Trying to distract him, Lion said, "I like your CDs too, but now you should sleep." "All right. Good night, senior," Zhao replied. Lion muttered a feint, unable to say more because of how flustered he felt. But Zhao insisted, "Senior, say good night to me too." Blushing, Lion whispered, "Good night." They both tried to sleep, but Lion couldn't. "How can I sleep while hugging another man?" he thought. "Worrying about his sleep has made me worry about mine too." For Yi Lion, sleeping was difficult. Zhao was so close to him that he couldn't fall asleep. Still, he tried to rest. After some time, Zhao drifted into deep sleep. But then, he began talking in his sleep. Lion opened his eyes and watched him. Suddenly, Zhao muttered angrily, "Get lost." He continued speaking in another language, and Lion could only understand the words "get lost." Confused, he thought, is he speaking Russian? At least he isn't telling me to get lost. Then Lion realized Zhao was hugging him tightly. He tried to move his hands away, but Zhao only pulled him closer. Defeated, Lion sighed to himself. Forget it. I'll just sleep like this. His face turned red as he blushed. Morning came. At 9 a.m., someone knocked loudly on Zhao's door. It was Manager Li from the general department. She shouted, "Liang Xiao, are you inside?" Her loud voice startled Lion awake. She continued, "Do you know where Supervisor Yi is? Did something happen between you two?" Her shouting woke Zhao as well. He rubbed his eyes, annoyed, and muttered, "I know." Looking around, he realized his hugging pillow Lion was no longer beside him. That made him even angrier. Li kept banging on the door, demanding answers. Frustrated, Zhao shouted back, "I know where he is. Wait 1 minute." By now, Lion had gotten out of bed and stood to the side. When Li's voice finally stopped, he thought, has she left? Hopefully, when I step outside, no one will be in the hallway. It's impossible to hide all these tattoos. Just then, Zhao called out to him in confusion. "Yes, let's go," Lion replied quickly. "We have a meeting at 10. We need to leave by 9. Seeing his senior's face, Zhao's mood instantly brightened. He laughed, teasing, "Senior, sleeping was really fun." His words carried a hidden meaning, but Lion avoided it, saying, "Yes, I know. I'm leaving now." As he moved toward the door, Zhao jumped out of bed, grabbed his hand, and said, "Senior, the hallway is freezing. Here, take this shirt." Lion looked at him for a moment, then accepted the shirt and put it on. "Thank you. I'll return it later." Zhao smiled warmly. "No problem, Senior. Come back safely." Wearing the shirt, Lion opened the door. Zhao added, "Go quickly and take a shower." But as Lion stepped out, he was shocked to see Manager Li standing there, staring at him with wide, surprised eyes. She looked more delighted than surprised. Blushing, she laughed and said, "Ah, Senior Yi, you two finally." Confused, Lion thought, "Finally? What?" By then, Zhao had also come to the door. He greeted her cheerfully. "Good morning, Senior. You just came to borrow a razor." "I was still asleep." He looked at Lion with affection. Seeing this, Li's happiness overflowed. Looks like Li is a BL fan too. The narrator notes, she must be thinking Zhao and Lion spent the night together in that way. Days passed. One evening around PM, Lion stood at Zhao's door again. "Today's work went well," he said. "As a reward, I've come to hypnotize you on time." Blushing, Zhao replied, "Thank you, Senior." Later, both changed into casual clothes and lay down together. As usual, Zhao hugged Lion tightly. For 4 or 5 nights now, they had been sleeping side by side. It seemed hypnosis was working very well. That night, Zhao's phone rang. The call kept buzzing. Annoyed, Zhao pushed it off the table to the floor. Watching him, Lion thought, one day this boy will break his phone. Then Zhao hugged him again and said, "That was so annoying. It disturbed Senior's sleep." "It's fine," Lion replied softly. Looking at him carefully, he touched Zhao's cheek and thought, his ex is bothering him again. Only a few days remain before this business trip ends. I've grown used to sleeping beside this warm child. When I return home, I'll suffer from insomnia. Then he thought, or maybe not. I can just go to Zhao's apartment and sleep there too. Finally, the last night of the business trip arrived. The team celebrated at a restaurant. Everyone was cheerful. Lion and Zhao sat together. Deputy Supervisor Chen raised a toast. Lion lifted his glass and said, "I'm a little tipsy. Tomorrow we return to China, so let's not drink too much." He knew they were in a foreign place, unfamiliar with the laws and public order. Too much drinking could cause trouble. But Zhao, sitting beside him, took the glass from his hand. "Give this to me, Senior." He stood up, glaring at Chen, rolling up his sleeves in anger. Seeing his reaction, Chen quickly understood and said nervously, I can't drink anymore. I'm going to the washroom. Scared, Chen left. Well done, Zhao, the narrator notes. Protect your lion like this always. Lion was pleased. He leaned toward Zhao and whispered, do I need to carry you on my back to return the favor? Smiling sweetly, Zhao immediately leaned into his lap, resting his head there. He touched Lion's hand and said, having you here with me feels wonderful. Blushing, Lion gazed at him tenderly. Time passed, and the party neared its end. But Chen had been gone for over 20 minutes. Concerned, Lion called his phone, only to realize it was still on the table. He had forgotten to take it. Zhao was asleep on the sofa. Lion told Li, stay here and watch him. I'll go find Chen. He put on his overcoat and stepped outside. Nearby, he heard noises. Following the sound, he saw 5 men beating someone. One had golden hair and was smoking. Realizing the situation, Lion knew they were in serious trouble. The person being beaten was none other than Deputy Supervisor Chen. But who were these men? The narrator teases. Can you guess who they are? Here's a hint. They're related to Zhao. Lion saw a group of men beating someone. To his shock, the person being attacked was none other than Deputy Supervisor Chen. Lion stepped forward and said firmly in English, he's my friend. Let him go. The men pulled Chen up, mocking Lion with sly smiles. The one with golden hair stared directly at him. Lion didn't back down. He warned, my phone is in my pocket. One button and the police will be called. Robbing a foreigner is a serious crime. You'll all be in big trouble. The golden-haired man laughed loudly, confusing Lion and making him uneasy. Tomorrow we're supposed to return home, he thought nervously. And now this happens tonight. Suddenly, footsteps approached. It was Zhao. Senior, did you find Deputy Supervisor Chen? He asked, coming to stand beside Lion. Then Zhao's eyes fell on the group. He recognized one of them, the golden-haired man. Looking straight at him, Zhao said in English, Jinping, do you want to go back to jail again? Narrator's note, meet Jinping, Zhao's ex. The atmosphere grew tense. Lion remembered the time he had overheard Zhao speaking to his ex on the phone. Now, he realized this must be the foreign ex. Jinping dropped his cigarette, crushed it underfoot, and began speaking in another language. Lion couldn't understand. Zhao replied in English, how much do you hate me? Isn't ruining my sleep every night enough for you? Jinping shouted angrily in his own language. Zhao answered again in English, I know you've been watching me these past few days. Lion was shocked. So his ex has been spying on him. Jinping grabbed Zhao's collar, yelling in his language. Zhao stared back and said, so what are you going to do now? Narrator's note, it was smart of Zhao to speak English, so his senior could understand everything clearly. Without any misunderstandings, Jinping released his collar, grabbed Zhao's hand, and said in English, come back to New York with me. Zhao shook his hand off immediately. That will never happen, it's impossible. Jinping's face fell, but he didn't give up. I found a new place. I've changed. If we live there together, there won't be any problems. Zhao replied coldly. Then go live there alone. Furious, Jinping shouted, I can't live without you. Lion stood silently to the side, listening to everything. He was stunned by Jinping's desperation. Jinping continued speaking in his language, but Lion couldn't understand. Zhao looked at his senior, took a deep breath, and said, I have nothing to do with you anymore. Lion thought, Jinping keeps speaking another language, but Zhao insists on English. Is he doing this so I can understand? Then Zhao demanded, first, let my colleague go. Jinping asked, will you come with me then? Zhao stayed silent. Jinping signaled his men. They released Chen, who collapsed to the ground. Zhao rushed to catch him and shouted, apologize. The men refused. Angrily, Zhao repeated, apologize to him. They looked at Jinping. At his signal, they lowered their heads and muttered something in their language. By now, Chen's eyes were slowly opening. Zhao turned to Lion and said, Senior, take Deputy Supervisor Chen away first. I'll come soon. Worried, Lion whispered, come quickly. Don't follow them. They're dangerous. Take care of yourself. Zhao smiled gently. Don't worry, senior. Lion carried Chen back toward the restaurant. Outside, he found a police officer. Hello, he said. There are some thugs in that lane. But the officer spoke in his own language, and Lion couldn't understand. He waited nearby for Zhao, but Zhao didn't come. In his mind, he saw Zhao's smiling face again, saying, "Don't worry, senior." Unable to wait, Lion ran back toward the lane. Behind him, Manager Li shouted, "Director Yi, where are you going? You can't go there." But Lion didn't stop. His heart was full of worry. No, I can't leave him alone in such danger. Nothing must happen to Zhao. What do you think? Will Lion be able to save his Zhao? Part 02 starts with us seeing that Lion was worried about his Zhao. He kept thinking to himself, no, absolutely not. I cannot leave him alone in a situation like this. I won't let anything happen to him. Thinking all this, Lion ran back toward that area. The moment he arrived there, he was completely shocked. Lion saw that a fight was going on between Zhao and his ex. Zhao's clothes had already been torn, and there were injury marks all over his face and body. Then Jinpin's entire gang joined together and grabbed Zhao. After that, they started beating him mercilessly. Seeing all this, Lion became extremely angry. He immediately took off his jacket and jumped into the fight. Lion's fighting skills were so good that he beat Jinpin's men badly and completely overwhelmed them. Things continued like this for a while, then the police arrived. The police officers took Jinpin and his men away with them. Since Zhao and Lion had also been involved in the fight, they had to go with the police as well. Lion noticed that Zhao's shirt had been torn apart. Handing over his jacket, he said, "Wear this." But Zhao started refusing. On hearing that, Lion personally put the jacket on him and said, "Your shirt is torn and your skin is visible from inside. Why weren't you wearing a warmer underneath your shirt? Wear this jacket, otherwise you'll catch a cold." Holding Lion's hand, Zhao asked, "Won't senior catch a cold then?" Lion replied, "I am wearing a warmer underneath my shirt, so I won't catch one." Their little romantic moment was still going on when a police officer suddenly called out to them, "Come over here and sit down." Lion and Zhao were placed in separate rooms. The room Lion was assigned to was filled with large and intimidating prisoners. He quietly walked over to a corner, sat down, lowered his eyes, and muttered to himself, "This is the first time I've ever come to a place like this." Just like that, 2 days passed. A police officer eventually brought Lion outside the room. The moment he stepped out, the very first person he looked for was Zhao. He saw bandages covering Zhao's face, and Zhao was standing there holding a jacket in his hand. Seeing Zhao safe and sound, Lion finally let out a sigh of relief. Handing the jacket back to him, Zhao said, "Senior, here are your clothes." At that moment, Lion's gaze shifted toward Deputy Supervisor Chan, who looked extremely depressed and guilty. Apologizing to both Zhao and Lion, he said, "Thank you so much. Because of the two of you, I am safe today. After returning home, I will definitely invite both of you to dinner." Seeing Deputy Supervisor Chan feeling so apologetic, Lion told him, "There is no need for that." Meanwhile, Zhao thanked him instead. "Look at this, guys." Zhao immediately thanked him for the dinner invitation. He truly did not want to miss even a single opportunity to spend time with his senior. Lion could only stare at him. A few days later, we see Lion returning to his country along with his team members. Everyone was already inside the airplane. Li had put on her eye mask and was sleeping, while Lion was adjusting his seat. At that moment, he noticed Zhao getting up from his seat and walking away. Seeing him leave, Lion immediately stood up as well and went to wait outside the restroom. When Zhao came out of the restroom, his eyes landed on his senior standing there. Seeing him, he called out to him. Lion grabbed Zhao's hand and stopped him. "Wait a minute, is there something you want to tell me?" Turning toward him, Zhao asked, "What?" Looking away awkwardly, Lion replied, "If something is bothering you, you can talk to me about it. Maybe I can help you figure it out." Hearing that, Zhao asked, "Senior, can't you sleep?" With a big smile, Lion immediately answered, "No." After that, Zhao remained standing beside him. He stayed silent for a while, then finally looked at Lion and said, "I also wanted to talk to you, and thinking about talking to you for a long time. At first, I didn't know how to say it. I was afraid I might end up saying something strange or inappropriate." Hearing that, Lion asked, "So that's why you never said anything?" Zhao nodded. "Yes. But is it already too late to talk about it now?" Lion immediately replied, "No, you can tell me." Zhao then began explaining, "To be honest, I didn't have this problem before. When I was little, my mother took my brother abroad with her. She went there to receive treatment for her illness. And my brother started attending school there. Later, when I graduated from junior high school at the age of 14, I went looking for them. There, I found out that my brother was practically living at school and rarely came home. My mother spent most of her time alone. My mother refused to let me stay with her and instead bought a separate house for me. It was located near my high school, and she even hired a nanny for me. About a year passed like that. One day, I returned home to pick up some belongings. When I entered, I saw her lying on the sofa. She looked completely intoxicated, and there was a syringe attached to her wrist. Hearing this, Lion immediately understood what kind of situation Zhao's mother had been in at that time, and what she had been taking. Zhao continued, "My mother was very sick, but she told me not to tell Dad anything about it, and she also wouldn't let me call the police, because she threatened that if I did, she would end her own life. My brother had known about all of this long before I did. I even asked him what we should do, because Mom's condition looked terrible. She had already become addicted to it. I was hoping my brother would come up with a solution. I thought he would know what to do. But he repeated exactly what Mom had said, and told me that people take such things to ease their pain. I knew it was wrong, but I still couldn't do anything, because I was bound by the promise I had made to my mother." A few months later, Mom passed away because of an overdose. Only a few days later, my brother jumped from a building and took his own life. The news appeared in a New York newspaper. That was how I found out about it. I had so many chances. I could have saved both of them. If I had handed Mom over to the authorities earlier, maybe she would still be with us today. But everything ended. My father doesn't blame me for any of it. He even supported me throughout high school. After listening to him, Lion asked, "Do you think they should blame you?" Zhao lowered his gaze. "I don't know. I saw the injections on Mom's wrist many times, and she eventually died because of that overdose. That's why I absolutely hate injections." Then he continued, "The story doesn't end there. My story with Jinpin was somewhat similar as well. I met him on a reptile forum. Together we raised many lizards. Our interests were incredibly similar. When I turned 18, I entered a relationship with him. He studied at an art academy and painted for a living. While I was studying finance at that time, we were very happy together. One day, I accidentally left some belongings at home, so I went back to retrieve them. When I arrived, I saw 5 or 6 people lying on the carpet downstairs. Syringes were attached to their hands. The scene was exactly the same as the one I had witnessed years ago with my mother." Hearing all this, Lion became extremely worried about him. Immediately grabbing his hand, he asked, "Did this happen when you were 22? Zhao nodded. "Yes. At that time, I was extremely busy with my studies. Jinpin was very smart. He believed that if he hid the needles properly, I would never discover them, and I would never find out about his habit. The moment I saw that scene at home, I walked out of the room and locked the door from the outside. After that, I immediately called the police. I stood there the entire time. Jinpin kept banging on the door from inside and cried loudly. He begged me to open the door, and kept saying that it was the last time, that he would never do it again. I'd hear his friends crying as well. They were all screaming, 'Senior, I don't think calling the police that day was the wrong thing to do, and I don't regret it at all. I didn't want anyone else to become addicted, and I didn't want someone to end their life inside my house.'" After hearing everything, Lion showed a gentle smile and praised him. "Yes, absolutely. You did the right thing, Zhao." In the beginning of this chapter, we see that after hearing Zhao's past story, Lion praises him and says, "Yes, Absolutely. You did the right thing, Zhao. It is completely normal for something like this to hurt you. There is no need for you to suppress your emotions. Nobody can say that you were wrong. And nobody can say that you are weak. Do you want a hug? As he says this, Lion spreads his arms as if inviting Zhao into an embrace. Then continues, you've been feeling depressed for quite some time now. This can't go on like this. Lion had barely finished speaking when Zhao immediately stepped forward and hugged him. Returning the hug, Lion says, honestly, I'm surprised that you're sharing all of this with me. It makes me happy. It feels like you trust me, Zhao replies. Well, everything is over now. And pain doesn't last forever. But because of my selfishness, you've gone through a lot of trouble. At the very least, I wanted to explain everything to you. I should have told you earlier, Lion immediately says. If you keep talking like that, I'm going to get angry. Hearing this, Zhao feels incredibly warm inside, affectionately rubbing his cheek against his senior's cheek. Then softly says, let's go home and get some sleep. Senior, Zhao is about to leave when Lion grabs his hand and stops him. No, we still have to wait. Confused, Zhao asks, for what? Reminding him about something, Lion says, are you still going to read that poem for me? I want you to read it with all of your emotions. Hearing that, Zhao stares at him carefully, then blushes before replying, all right then. Listen carefully. Lion also blushes as he answers, okay. After that, Zhao begins reciting the poem with all of his emotions. He looks extremely nervous, while Lion listens attentively, with a gentle smile on his face, his heart dancing with happiness the entire time. As Zhao continues reading the poem, Lion silently recites the English translation in his mind, because Zhao is reading the poem in Russian. A little while later, when the final line arrives, Lion unexpectedly says it together with Zhao. Seeing this, Zhao is completely surprised. Immediately raising both hands in surrender, Lion says, I'm sorry. I thought you weren't going to translate the poem for me, so before boarding the plane, searched for it myself. After hearing that, Zhao can only stare at him, blushing heavily. Lion says, hey, don't just keep looking at me like that. Say something. Should we go back now? Lion has barely finished speaking when Zhao suddenly steps closer, wraps his arms around him, and softly calls out to him. Then his gaze slowly drifts toward Lion's lips. Lion is ready too. The next moment, Zhao gently kisses him. After the kiss, Zhao quietly asks, did you find it disgusting? Lion doesn't say a single word. Instead, he simply touches his lips with a blank expression on his face. Seeing this reaction, Zhao becomes confused and calls out to him. He wants an answer, any answer, but Lion continues touching his lips without saying anything. A strange pain begins to spread through Zhao's chest. He feels terrible. He thinks that perhaps his senior didn't like the kiss. Lowering his eyes, he quietly says, I'm sorry. However, before he can even finish apologizing, Lion grabs his collar, pulls him back toward himself with a sweet smile, and immediately kisses him. Zhao holds Lion's face in his hands and eagerly returns the kiss. After kissing for a while, they finally pull apart. Lion is blushing intensely. Feeling slightly shy, Zhao asks, did you like that? Lion nods. Seeing this, Zhao says, but I can't kiss you for too long. Otherwise, you won't be able to handle it. After saying that, he simply keeps looking at Lion with an adorable smile. Lion smiles back while secretly thinking, what exactly do you think of me? I can swim 500 meters underwater in freestyle. Do you really think my lung capacity isn't enough to handle your kiss? While Lion is lost in those thoughts, Zhao suddenly says, this kind of thing has to be done gradually, both physically and psychologically. We have to move forward one step at a time. If I rush things, it could backfire and make you uncomfortable. Hearing that, Lion asks, one step at a time? Does that mean next time we'll kiss 5 seconds longer? With a sweet smile, Zhao replies, yes, we can try that. Lion then asks, is that because I'm straight? Zhao looks directly at him and asks, do I turn you on, senior? The moment those words leave Zhao's mouth, Lion is completely shocked. The poor man starts coughing immediately. Inwardly, he thinks, it does feel nice, but I'm not at that stage yet. As he thinks about it, a realization suddenly strikes him. Could Zhao, immediately turning toward him, Lion asks, are you? As expected. Lion's guess is correct. Zhao calmly asks, would you like to touch it? Lion instantly extends his hand and replies, I can try. This answer shocks Zhao completely. He never expected his senior to respond like that and immediately offer his hand. Seeing this, Zhao becomes incredibly shy, quickly stepping away and covering the front of his pants with both hands. Blushing furiously, he says, never mind. Then he immediately turns his face away. Look at him, guys. Zhao is blushing so much, even though he was the one who started this conversation in the first place. He thought he would be able to tease his senior, but his senior turned out to be 2 steps ahead of him. Watching Zhao act so shy, Lion simply smiles. In his heart, he thinks, just look at this Lion. He talks with so much confidence, yet he gets embarrassed so easily. I feel like he's been blushing over all sorts of things for quite a while now. Thinking that, Lion gently pokes him with the finger and says, come on. But before he can continue, Zhao suddenly turns toward him and says, you've fallen for me. Your heart belongs to me now. You're in love with me now. It is Lion's turn to become embarrassed. Hearing those words, his face turns red like a tomato. Meanwhile, Zhao continues, nowadays, affection that has only just begun is still something very fragile. A relationship is a very heavy thing, especially when you're trying to enter a relationship with someone of the same gender. Many people still don't accept it. Affection is incredibly delicate. Problems within a relationship can easily weaken it, and in the end, you may convince yourself that the love inside your heart was nothing more than an illusion. I like you very much, senior. That's why I don't want you to think of me as a mistake. Lion listens to every word carefully. After hearing him out, he silently thinks, the way young people think about love these days is truly different. He's such a rational and honest person with a gentle smile. Lion says, you're right. But every relationship comes with problems. That doesn't mean I'm not prepared for them. Lowering his gaze, Zhao quietly replies, then I'll wait for you to overcome those problems. Until the day when you only want to be with me, just like how I feel right now. I'll wait until you truly fall in love with me. And until then, work even harder. Blushing slightly, Lion asks, so, are we in some kind of relationship right now? Zhao answers, yes. Something like that. Lion places a hand on Zhao's shoulder and says, all right, I understand. Then tell me, Mr. Philosopher, what do you expect from me? Zhao immediately answers, don't date anyone else. That's all I want. Then he asks, what about you, senior? What do you expect from me? Lion thinks for a moment before smiling. I only have one demand. During our vacation, can you invite me to stay at your place for 2 days? The moment Zhao hears that, he blushes intensely and asks, do you want us to live together? Zhao asks Lion, what about you, senior? What do you expect from me? Lion thinks for a moment, then smiles and says, I only have one request. During our vacation, would you be willing to invite me to stay at your place for 2 days? Hearing this, Zhao blushes and asks, do you want us to live together? Lion immediately replies, it's not that simple. What I mean is, did you really buy that apartment because you liked the neighborhood? Zhao answers honestly, I bought that apartment because I wanted to be closer to you. But if we start living in the same apartment right away, then maybe we're moving a little too fast. Gently ruffling Zhao's hair, Lion says, don't overthink it. I just want to make sure that you're able to sleep as well as I do. Both of us are going to be very busy with work. So let's make time together and slowly strengthen this relationship. After saying that, Lion looks at Zhao with a sweet smile before heading back toward his seat. Meanwhile, Zhao is incredibly happy as well. After returning to their country, both Lion and Zhao become busy with work. During this time, one of Lion's colleagues approaches him and says, Director, the chairman would like to see you in his office. Lion immediately becomes nervous. What if I'm going to be punished? Even though Zhao and I fought in self-defense. Everything that happened during the business trip occurred under my watch, with those thoughts in mind. Lion enters the chairman's office, however. Instead of discussing the incident, the chairman begins asking him about the younger employees working under him. Lion starts describing them one by one. Miss Lee is like this. Miss Jiang works like that. He praises each of them sincerely. Then the chairman asks, and what do you think about Zhao? Lion immediately praises Zhao as well. He's a very talented, capable, and mature young employee. The chairman looks extremely pleased after hearing those answers. Lion notices him smiling and smiles back politely. The chairman is happy that Zhao has such a good senior looking after him and protecting him. By the way, guys, doesn't it feel like there must be some kind of relationship between the chairman and Zhao? Can you guess what it might be? Chapter begins. A little later, we see Lion drinking coffee in the office pantry. Soon after, Zhao arrives and asks, I heard the chairman called you to his office. What did he say? Did he create any problems for you? Lion shakes his head. No. We just talked about random things, honestly. The chairman is surprisingly approachable. He's cheerful and doesn't feel like a typical boss at all. That's good, Zhao replies, before starting to make his coffee. Lion keeps watching him carefully. There is something on his mind that he wants to say, yet he can't seem to bring himself to say it. Suddenly, Zhao turns around and asks with a puppy-like smile, is there something else you'd like to tell me? For a moment, Lion is completely stunned. How does this kid always figure out what I'm thinking so easily? He's way too smart. Thinking that, Lion takes out 2 concert tickets and offers them to Zhao. I have a pair of concert tickets. It's a pretty niche indie music band. Are you interested? The concert is the night before our spring vacation begins, as if Zhao would ever refuse his senior. Happily accepting the tickets, he immediately agrees. Soon, the two of them start chatting excitedly about the band. Around Lion, Zhao truly looked like an adorable little puppy. There was also a tradition at their company that no employee was required to work overtime on New Year's Eve. Naturally, everyone was excited and busy discussing their holiday plans. Zhao was especially excited because he would be attending the concert with his senior that evening. Just then, the general manager arrives, wishes everyone a happy new year, and dismisses them for the day. Afterward, he enters Lion's office and says, tonight I'm hosting a dinner party. Several major shareholders will be attending as well. Come with me, Lion. Consider it my treat. The moment he hears that, Lion is stunned, because tonight was supposed to be his concert date with Zhao. At that moment, he notices Zhao outside the office, winking at him while subtly pointing toward his phone. Lion quickly checks it. There is a message from Zhao. I'll be waiting for you downstairs. Seeing that message, Lion immediately starts thinking of an excuse to avoid the dinner party. However, before he can even finish speaking, the general manager interrupts him. Just wait a bit, I'll have my driver take us there. And don't refuse. I'm telling you now, Ben truly doesn't know what to do. The general manager is using his position to pressure me. He's already arranged transportation. If I refuse now, it won't look good. After thinking it over, he reluctantly agrees because he has no other choice. Then, with a disappointed heart, he messages Zhao. Tonight I have to attend a party with the higher-ups. I won't be able to make it to the concert. Make sure you have dinner when you get there. Don't drink too much, remember, you're going there for the music. And go home early. Soon, Zhao replies, okay. Are you going with the general manager? Yes. The general manager and several shareholders. Lion replies. Are you upset? This time, no reply comes back. A little while later, Lion is already at the party. He keeps checking his phone. Still no response from Zhao. Lion begins to think that Zhao might actually be upset with him. Just as he's starting to feel down, a new message finally appears. Can you come outside for a moment? Don't bring your jacket. I'm outside. The moment Lion reads that Zhao is outside, he is completely shocked, because he had assumed Zhao would already be at the concert by now. Immediately excusing himself from the table, he rushes toward the exit. The moment he opens the door, he practically bumps into Zhao. Zhao is standing right outside. To make matters worse, Lion has already had a few drinks, making him slightly unsteady. The moment he sees Zhao, his mood brightens instantly, smiling happily. He asks why Zhao came all the way here. Zhao replies, "Just give me 2 minutes. I'll go inside, make a toast, then come back out with your things. It won't take long. Stay here and wait for me. I'm taking you to the concert." So Zhao didn't go to the concert alone. Guys, he came to bring his senior with him. That's honestly so sweet. After saying that, Zhao walks inside and the door closes behind him. Once he's gone, Lion suddenly realizes something. Wait, Zhao just went inside. What if his straightforward personality ends up offending the higher-ups? The thought terrifies him immediately. Lion pushes the door open again, but the scene inside completely surprises him. Zhao is standing confidently among everyone, chatting with the guests and offering a toast. Then their eyes meet. Zhao looks directly at him and smiles sweetly. Seeing that calm smile only makes Lion even more nervous. Staring at him, Lion silently thinks, is he signaling me not to come inside? He wonders. On one hand, Lion is worried that Zhao might accidentally upset the higher-ups, while, on the other hand, Zhao is calmly explaining to them, a bit of work has come up at the company, so we'll need Director Lion tonight. We'll probably be busy until very late, so I may not be able to send him back here. The general manager immediately agrees, because he knows very well that picking a fight with Zhao is the same as putting his own job at risk. Since Zhao is taking Lion away from the party, he offers to drink 3 shots as a penalty. However, the higher-ups stop him immediately. There's no need for that. You drove here, so don't drink too much. We can't allow that. Instead, they hand him a glass of walnut milk, and Zhao drinks that. After saying goodbye to everyone, he walks outside. One of his hands is holding Lion's coat. Lion is extremely happy to see how smoothly Zhao handled the entire situation. Helping him put on his coat, Zhao asks, "How much did you drink? Are you all right?" Lion replies, "I can manage." Zhao then says, "The concert starts in 30 minutes. If we hurry, we can still make it." Hearing that, Lion looks confused. "But what about the work?" Zhao casually answers, "There is no work. I made up a story so they would let you leave with me." Hearing that, Lion is completely shocked. Even if he had made up a similar excuse himself, the general manager would never have allowed him to leave. Thinking about it, he asks, "Do you know those 2 investors? You seemed very familiar with them." Zhao nods. "Yes." Lion asks again, "Is your family involved in this industry too?" Once again, Zhao nods. "Yes." Now Lion is even more shocked. Seeing his expression, Zhao reassures him, "Don't worry, senior. My family's business is not a competitor of our company." "That's good to hear," Lion replies. Meanwhile, he is thinking, his surname is Liang. The chairman's surname is Chu, and none of the top executives in the company have the surname Liang. He also said that there is no competition between his family's business and our company. I think he's probably the son of some random wealthy family. Maybe his family has worked with those investors before. Thinking that, Lion gently leans his shoulder against Zhao's and shyly says, "By the way, thank you for today. I thought I wouldn't be able to come to your place tonight. By then, I'd probably be completely drunk. And honestly, who would want to hug someone who smells like alcohol?" Before he can finish, Zhao takes hold of his hand and says, "If you don't want to attend those dinner parties, then don't force yourself to go. I don't think the general manager would trouble you even if you ignored him." Lion then asks, "We only have 30 minutes before the concert starts. Can we really make it in time?" Before Zhao can answer, Lion's eyes land on Zhao's expensive car. His mouth practically falls open. Spinning the car keys around his finger, Zhao smiles and says, "We'll make it on time." At Zhao's behavior, Lion thinks to himself, "I should really get used to this by now. There's no reason to be surprised anymore." After that, Zhao opens the car door for him like a perfect gentleman. Lion gets inside, and the 2 of them head toward their destination. Zhao drives quite fast. Lion smiles and thinks, I've become so used to the humid air inside crowded subway trains that I can't even remember the last time I felt air this fresh. It feels like I'm flying." Thinking that, he asks, "What's the speed limit on this road?" "I don't know," Zhao answers. Lion immediately asks, "Are we already driving too fast?" "We're almost there," Zhao replies. Lion starts worrying that a traffic officer on a motorcycle might stop Zhao and take away his license for speeding. But Zhao simply says, "They won't be able to catch us." Hearing that confident response, Lion can't help blushing and looking away. Soon, they arrive at their destination. Zhao is about to step out of the car when Lion suddenly grabs his jacket. Confused, Zhao calls out to him. The next moment, Lion suddenly hugs him, acting purely on impulse because he is feeling overwhelmed with happiness and can no longer hold back his emotions. Gently stroking the back of his neck, Zhao tells him to calm down. After that, he takes Lion's hand and leads him inside the concert venue. In the start of the chapter, we see the atmosphere inside is lively and energetic, and they arrive just in time for the opening performance. Looking at Zhao, Lion asks, "Are you all right?" "I got a little carried away earlier." Zhao smiles softly and replies, "I'm perfectly fine." Lion can only stare at him. The concert has already begun, and everyone is enjoying themselves. People are dressed in all kinds of stylish and unique outfits. Meanwhile, Lion and Zhao seem completely focused on each other. Looking around at everyone, Lion rests his head on Zhao's shoulder and says, "We look pretty out of place here in these clothes." "I think we look pretty cool," Zhao replies. Lion asks, "Really? Then, Mr. Prince Charming, are you ready to set the dance floor on fire?" Hearing that, Zhao suddenly becomes a little shy, as if he has remembered something from the past. Loosening his tie and taking off his jacket, he says, "This isn't your first time coming to a place like this, is it?" His question leaves Lion confused. Zhao glances at him from the corner of his eye, then leans closer and quietly whispers, "Actually, before we ever spoke for the first time, I had already seen your tattoo once." Zhao says to Lion, "Actually, before we ever spoke for the first time, I had already seen your tattoos once, senior." There were 3 bands performing at that concert. All of them were from the UK. It was the second day of the Mid-Autumn Festival holiday, and you were standing right in the front row. Hearing that, Lion immediately remembers that day. He asks, "Where were you at that time? Were you also in the front row?" Zhao shakes his head. "I was somewhere in the middle row. Not very far from you." Lion thinks for a moment before saying, "That was near the end of September. You'd only been at the company for about a month." "That's right," Zhao replies. "I still wasn't familiar with you back then, senior." Then Zhao continues, "After that night, I started paying attention to you." Surprised, Lion asks, "Just because you saw my tattoos?" "Absolutely not," Zhao answers immediately. "Then why?" Lion asks. With a gentle smile, Zhao replies, "I'll tell you later." The concert is starting. The concert begins, and both Zhao and Lion enjoy it very much. After a while, Lion says, "I thought you wanted to teach me how to dance, so why aren't you moving?" When Zhao looks at him, he realizes that Lion seems quite tired. Immediately, he supports his senior and leads him away so he can rest for a bit. The two of them sit down on chairs nearby. Zhao hands him a bottle of water. While talking to Zhao, Lion rests his head on the table and closes his eyes for a moment. Zhao gently strokes his hair, looking at him affectionately. Lion asks, "All right then, tell me, why do you like me?" Zhao looks at him quietly for a few moments, then takes his hand and replies, "Because you're not the kind of person you appear to be." Lion doesn't quite understand what he means. So Zhao continues, "You went to New York 6 years ago. Do you still remember that?" The question surprises Lion. Zhao explains, "Our company organized a job fair with my school and several other schools. That was actually the first time we met. I handed you my arsum. Everyone else welcomed me warmly, but you didn't say anything at all. Then I left. I was walking away from campus when someone suddenly called my name from behind. When I turned around, it was you. You looked slightly out of breath, as if you had run all the way over to me. You said, 'Long Zhao, I'm really sorry for stopping you like this. But I'm a little concerned. I looked at your qualifications. And my personal advice is that you shouldn't rush into finding a job immediately after finishing your degree. A few years from now, you might realize that you've chosen the wrong path. And there's also a possibility that you'll be bullied at work. So perhaps it's better not to rush into anything right now, for the moment. The only thing you need to figure out is what you truly want. What is it that you genuinely enjoy doing? The flashback ends. Zhao looks at Lion and says, "At that time, I was honestly very frustrated. I felt betrayed by Roman guys." Roman is Zhao's ex-boyfriend. Earlier I referred to him as Jinpin, but from now on we'll call him Roman. Zhao continues, "I was frustrated. I felt betrayed by Roman. But at the same time, I pitied him too. It felt like I had hurt him deeply. Back then, I kept wondering why love brought me twice as much pain. I had reached a point where I couldn't see any road ahead. Then my sleep problems started, and I developed insomnia. My family kept asking me to come back home. One part of me wanted to go back, but another part didn't in the end. I decided to stay and continue my studies. Looking back now, I think you influenced that decision, senior. You were a complete stranger who cared about me. You didn't ask what you wanted from me. You simply didn't want me to make a mistake." Hearing this, Lion leans against him and says, "I'm sorry. I don't remember any of this." "I know you don't," Zhao replies softly. Lion feels upset with himself. How could he forget something that was so important to Zhao? Seeing his reaction, Zhao comforts him. "Don't worry, senior. It wasn't that important. We even exchanged contact information. I had your email and Facebook account. I simply thought that you were the kind of person who treated everyone kindly." Then several years passed. One day, I came across a person on Facebook who constantly posted gloomy thoughts and seemed unhappy all the time. Then I suddenly realized that it was the same senior I had met at the job fair in New York during college. Lion sighs dramatically and says, "So you thought I was a nice person, but also a pitiful person, right?" He looks genuinely sad while saying it, gently patting his head. Zhao immediately reassures him, "Oh, I never thought that." Then I returned to work, and coincidentally, you were present during my interview. The atmosphere felt warm and comfortable, exactly like how my father used to describe the feeling of meeting your soulmate. And then I saw you again. You were capable, gentle, composed, and reliable from the outside. You looked absolutely perfect. You were the kind of man every woman would want to marry. No one could possibly doubt your confidence or your ability. But who would have thought that while enjoying a rock concert, I'd end up seeing your tattoos? You were only wearing a thin undershirt, and the tattoos on your arms were clearly visible. You looked happy, truly happy. You looked free by this point." Lion is blushing heavily. Zhao continues praising him. "That was the day I realized what kind of person you really are. You're kind, emotional, attractive, and genuine. You express yourself freely. I'm certain that I've seen sides of you that nobody else has. You're different. And so am I. Keep wondering how many more versions of yourself you're still hiding from me. Will I ever get to see all of them? If I don't, I might go crazy wondering, but I'm lucky. I know so much about you." Hearing this, Lion laughs and says, "I don't believe that. You have to." Zhao replies immediately. Then he leans closer and kisses him. Even after that, Lion still doesn't believe that Zhao remembers so much about him. So Zhao starts mentioning different details. He remembers about Lion, trying to convince him just how closely he has paid attention over the years. Listening to him, Lion can only stare at him in disbelief. Then, feeling completely overwhelmed and flustered, he immediately asks Zhao to come with him somewhere quieter so they can talk alone. To convince him, Zhao began listing the locations of each and every one of Lion's tattoos. Hearing that made a strange current run through Lion's body. His heart started racing, and he suddenly felt overwhelmed by emotions. So he immediately asked Zhao to come with him to the restroom. When Zhao heard that request, he looked into Lion's eyes for a few moments. Then, while trying to control himself, he pulled Lion closer into a hug and asked, "Will you still mean that 1 minute from now?" Lion frowned and replied, "Why wouldn't I? Are you waiting for me to regret what I just said?" Yes, I am, Zhao answered honestly. Resting his head against Zhao's chest once again, Lion lowered his eyes shyly and said, I won't regret it. Maybe I'm a little drunk, but I can still take responsibility for what I say. And besides, I like you now, as he said those words, his ears turned even redder from embarrassment. Seeing him like that, Zhao laughed softly and asked, so what exactly do you want me to do now? Do you want me to take you to the restroom? Hiding his face, Lion immediately nodded. Zhao gently lifted his chin, tilted his face upward, and placed a sweet kiss on his lips, causing several nearby people to stare in surprise. A little later, the two of them were alone, talking quietly and sharing affectionate moments together. Lion admitted that he felt nervous and awkward because it had been a very long time since he had been this close to anyone. Zhao asked, is it because nobody has been close to you for such a long time? Lion nodded, leave everything to me, Senior, Zhao said softly. Then he comforted him patiently, making sure he felt safe and relaxed, paying attention to every little detail. After some time, Zhao asked, should we switch things around? I've always taken the lead. Hearing that, Lion took a deep breath, because that was exactly what he had expected. When Lion didn't answer immediately, Zhao held his hand and said like a cute little puppy, but we'll do everything however you want, Senior guys. Just look at how much Zhao cared for his senior. He was thinking about every little thing. Lion finally whispered. I'm ready. Receiving that answer, Zhao became even more careful, making sure Lion was comfortable and never pushing him beyond his limits. The chapter ends here.